The learning wall is the visual representation of the butterfly model pedagogy. A learning process to support the creation of value and the development of character, independence and maturity in children, adults, organisations and institutions. In this short summary, I want to share the big picture, showing the component parts of the butterfly model. Do not be fooled by the apparent simplicity of this design. Every part of the wall is needed. No stage of the process can be avoided or unacknowledged. To do so would, at best, lessen the impact or sustainability of learning or growth. At worst, it creates blocks, fears and anxiety within individuals and groups. There are three layers that make up the learning wall. They are simple, to engage the conscious mind, complicated, to show what's occurring at a subconscious level, and complex, which address the creative process that is taking place at a deeper or super subconscious level. Simple or conscious level is predominantly operational. You do not need to understand this interconnected system at depth, complicated or complex. If you work through the process, you will, as a matter of course, be activating these deeper levels and creating the appropriate mindset and behaviours. You can apply the butterfly model process directly to classroom practice, as well as every aspect of school life. Be open. What have you, the teacher, done at the start of the lesson, or better still before the pupils arrive, to generate curiosity, purpose and passion? What have they done themselves? What is the big question? As they enter the classroom, what is happening to create the state of curiosity? It doesn't have to be a significant event, but it does have to be present. This first step is designed to develop leadership, questioning skills, and an excitement for learning. Without this basic stage in place, all the subsequent stages will be resting on weak foundations. Be kind. Do the pupils have a clear understanding of their roles, responsibilities, and possible rewards? Do you? Where do the students see themselves in relationship with and to the three realms of self, others, and the environment? Is there a balance? Are they too much me-centered and too little we? Or is it the other way around? How have you shaped and agreed a simple plan of action together? In the context of teaching and learning, it is about moving from a culture of mere compliance to one of knowing when it is important to comply. This step is designed to develop behavioural skills, empathy, and positive self-regard. Be consistent. Now that you have agreed a plan or process and you understand the basic direction of travel and reasons for going on the journey, you have to now commit and take some action. Moving from knowing what to do and actually doing it is a massive step. Having taken it, make sure that you have systems to regularly evaluate and review progress. Believe. As new information or an emerging reality reveals itself, then celebrate the fact that the new knowledge is building off or even disproving the current insights and skills of pupils and teachers. When presented with acts based on reason and experience, encourage the students to let the lesser formed and immature self go. Create an environment where pupils can constantly evaluate where they are on their journey. Repeat steps 1, 2 and 3 as often as need be. These 2 steps of the learning journey are not designed to be easy. In fact, a level of anxiety, doubt and fear is to be expected. The process of learning and change is an effort, and by celebrating the student's understanding and application of the process, rather than merely rewarding the outcomes, builds, according to Dr. Carol Dweck and others, a growth mindset. Be the change. How are you assessing the impact and outcomes? Are you and the pupils using formal or informal assessment criteria? At the end of this learning journey, be it a 45-minute lesson or a 3-month process of deep study and inquiry, how have the pupils changed? Did they meet their own expectations of themselves, both academically and creatively? What is going to be their next challenge? What do they need to keep that worked well? What skills or mindset do they need to develop? What do they need to stop doing? What has to be let go of? I would recommend that, whatever the age group or ability of your children, that you present the process as a simple, creative, age-appropriate learning line. One of the great benefits of using a learning line is the predictable and consistent nature of the process. The content and context may change, but the pattern does not. In brief, the simple learning line is a habit-changing and habit-forming system working at a simple, conscious level. The next level of the learning line, the complicated or subconscious level, links the biology, psychology, sociology, and self-organizing systems to each of the simple stages represented above the line. These more complicated elements can be expressed depending on the age or ability of the pupils. A basic understanding should be a prerequisite for teachers, otherwise they run the risk of merely providing information and instruction rather than developing any depth of understanding or meaning. The neurology, although linking to the purpose or questioning stage, is obviously active throughout the learning process. However, the key point is that the three-part brain, reptilian or primitive, limbic or emotional, and neocortex or higher order thinking, mirrors the vital pedagogic stages of the learning line. Learning starts bottom up, not top down. The psychological systems that run through the butterfly model process are the emergent cyclical levels of existence theory established by Dr. Claire W. Graves in the 1960s, 70s and 80s, and the concept of 3,000 worlds in a moment in time presented by a 6th century Chinese scholar known as Qi He. Linked to the stages of action and evolution, this process is about developing the capacity to be present and focused and not distracted by the past or the future, to engage with each stage of the journey. The competencies required to develop collaboration, personal mastery are bravery, energy, creativity, openness and motivation. The constant, conscious and repetitive application of these skills lead, as a matter of course, to the development of personal confidence or self-esteem. The value creation process of the butterfly model uses the algorithm devised by Qi He to show that at any single moment in time, we have the potential to express our character in up to 3,000 different ways. The maths looks like this. 3R equals the three realms of self, others, and the environment. 10W squared represents the 10 worlds or levels of existence. 10F, the 10 factors and the means by which we develop and express our character within the context of the phenomenal world. This is the final step of the process, embed. The outcomes or consciously engaging with the learning process provides both the student, the educator, and the institution with ever-expanding insight, knowledge, adaptability, and wisdom. The image shown here represents the 16 interconnected and interdependent elements of the model that form the foundation for this dynamic, complex, self-organizing system. It is only when we are genuinely open to questioning that we reveal the value of truth, however painful or disruptive this might be. Truth is a value that cannot be created, but it can be revealed, and this is how we develop the virtue of courage. The creative process I use is common to all cultures, traditions, and creative processes throughout time. It was summed up by Joseph Campbell in his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, as the hero's journey. I have condensed Campbell's 12 steps to 5 for the sake of simplicity. However, when we deliver sustained programs, we honour each stage and give it its full expression and wait. The first step is the call to adventure and requires the development of intuitive or spiritual intelligence. When we explore relationships, we create the value of goodness. This develops the virtue of compassion and requires us to accept the call, to trust our intuition and the guidance, encouragement and experience of those around us, such as teachers and fellow pupils or members of staff. This requires emotional or creative intelligence. When we engage in the learning process, with all the fear, doubt and apparent failure that this brings, we need to develop resilience, to persevere when things get tough. This creates a value of beauty and releases untapped life force or energy into our lives. This energy sustains us as we cross the threshold and undergo the path of trials. This often prolonged period of challenge requires practical, applied effort. Finally, as we enter our new world, leaving the old world behind, we can see the results of our efforts, not just in our grades and quality of work, but in our relationships with others and ourselves. We have more than just knowledge, we have wisdom. This is the unseen elixir referred to by Campbell. This is the true sign of character. Not that we have knowledge, but that we apply it, moment by moment, always seeking to continue the journey. This constant striving for understanding and self-reflection requires genuine IQ, genuine critical thinking. I hope you have gained from this overview, and I would like to conclude with a few words from the extraordinary Dr. Graves. Don't try and make complicated things simple, but don't make simple things complicated.